Hey, it's 2:24 a.m. It is I'm still going to consider it Friday. Now, I know some people consider it Saturday once it's 12 o'clock midnight, but I don't actually consider it morning until the sun actually rises. So I am up tonight. And it's funny because now that I'm not working, it's like my sleep schedule changes. So sometimes I might sleep a few hours when I hit the bed, when I hit the pillow, and then sometimes I sleep the entire night through. But when I wake up in the middle of the night, I don't like to just sit in bed trying to figure out how I'm going to go back to sleep. The best thing to do is just kind of like walk around or do something to get yourself a little bit worn out. But as I was waking up today, a few minutes ago, I started thinking, and my mind started turning into towards my ex family, and I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about interracial relationships because um, I find my family dynamic, my ex family dynamic, um, very twisted, very, very twisted. And I think it's a combination of these two things. Like I said, I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood, okay? And I was very fortunate to be exposed to different things because my parents had very different tastes. Okay, they watched all kinds of movies. I watched all kinds of movies. I talked about the music thing, so I never saw things on that level of um, this is reserved for white people or whatever. I did understand that certain things obviously are for white people, okay, and they're not meant to be for black people. And the same thing, you know what I mean? Like, for example, certain hair products that I buy, those are for me. They're not for somebody white. Okay, that I understand. But as far as um, racism, I really didn't think that it was that ingrained in white people. It wasn't that they weren't that heavily indoctrinated. But as I get older, I see this now. Okay, and obviously, I don't believe that my siblings realized how racist white people are. Because obviously we've all married them. I married a white person, my sisters married them, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that we were raised in a predominantly white area, and we did have different interests. And you usually gravitate towards people who you share interests with. I would say if I was to meet a black person, a regular black person, okay, just like a random black person, okay, the majority of the time I'm going to be able to relate to them on certain things. But when it comes to certain things that are like personal preferences, like movies, music, things that are superficial. Okay, those are superficial reasons. Okay, they're not any reason to get married. But at the same, but at some point, when you're younger, you start thinking, well, I'm basing this off of hobbies and interests and stuff like that. So they end up with white people. The reason why this to me is so disturbing is because we have one of my ex family members, Nathaniel, who is my sister, ex sister Tanya, and her husband's son. Now, obviously, we're never really aware of hidden racist biases. Um, but white people aren't. They're not really aware of it. They kind of are and they kind of aren't. Okay, like for example, my ex brother-in-law is married, or I don't know if my sister Tanya is dead or not. I don't know, but something in my mind keeps saying that something happened to her. I don't know if it did or not. And the reason why is because I don't really have a close emotional bond to my family to where I could start sensing that and knowing that for sure. There are certain things that happen where, like, I would know. Like, I know certain things about me. I don't, like I said before, I don't really have a close bond with my family because of the abuse and also the fact that my sister Tanya was 10 years in 1 week exactly older than me, and we spent many years apart. Now, she might claim the opposite, that we are so close or whatever, but there's a lot of delusion that goes on in that family. So, anyway, Nathaniel um, is extremely racist. Now, you wonder how is it that a person who is walking around who is half, biologically half, like he's half white, half black, and he looks very white. But if you look very closely, you could see he's got very broad features. So I can tell, okay, but a lot of people they're looking at his skin, and so Nathaniel is obviously somebody who has enjoyed certain privileges for being noticeably like a white appearance, has a white appearance. And I don't know. I mean, like when I think about all the times that I've seen and spent time with Nathaniel, I didn't know him very well. All he knew of me is the fact that I had a child out of wedlock and I didn't go to church. Now, my sister gave birth to Nathaniel. I would say, I think it was either 1989 or 90. For some reason, I keep thinking it was 90, but anyway, a little after my sister Tanya and Jim had Nathaniel, they moved out of the town that they were living in, which was Lancaster. They moved to Montrose, okay? So I would only see Nathaniel every once in a while, like during the holidays when my family would come and visit, like when my ex sister Tanya and her husband would visit, and we would see them. Okay, I didn't know him very well. Like there would go years would go by, and then I would see him, and then years would go by again, and then I would see him again. So it wasn't something consistent. My relationship with Nathaniel is not consistent, but I will tell you the times that I did interact with him, he always came off to me with an attitude because he was basing what he knew off me based off what my sister would tell him, right? My ex sister would tell him. And he always had this not, this attitude. And I remember one time he actually came up and punched me for no apparent reason. And he started laughing about it. His dad thought it was funny. And see, this is what I didn't understand at the time when I was back then. I didn't realize that my family resented me for being who I was. Okay, they resented me, and there was no obligation for me whatsoever to be a fellow Christian church member because my family, my mother and my father raised me and told me when at the time I was 18 I could choose my own religion. And maybe Jim might have raised him in a very strange type of culty type church religion or whatever. But that's what Jim and Tanya believe. And he maybe some people get very arrogant about certain things like this. His dad's a racist. He's a what do you call it? Like an enthusiast, a fanatic about his religion. And so he felt as though he could use me as a target. Maybe he saw me on Facebook. Maybe, I don't know what sparked him to do this because, like I said, my interaction with him is not very often. Okay. And all I knew from him was that he never treated me properly. He always seemed like he had no value for me. He never respected me. And the very fact that he just came up one time and punched me tells me that he had some sort of issue with me. And I will tell you it's completely unjustifiable, mainly because we have differences in lifestyle, which I am completely entitled to do. If so, but back to the racism that exists in my family, I think they don't understand, and it's there because a lot of people are very confused of how the racial dynamic works, how it really does work. A lot of people think that. Because we are very much denial about what goes on in this country about racism. We'll say people say, "Oh, America is this great big melting pot, and people get along, and this sort of stuff." But there's a lot boiling down underneath the surface now that I was not even really aware of until, like I said, I got into the workforce. I mean, I remember hints of it when I was. There's a video that I'm making about music um, that I'm going to be talking about how I didn't understand that there was a complete difference between white and black people, mainly because of a lot of the indoctrination. Like for example, an after school special, even back in the 70s, they would sit there and talk about racism, but they always cast it in a bad light to where you were under this impression that this is something rare. this is something that maybe this one particular family on this show has this issue with being a racist, and then at the end of the show, something happens to where they start, they're kind of unwinding their feelings, and they're coming to this realization that maybe this particular neighbor or whoever it is isn't so bad after all. But that's a 20-minute show once again, and whatever. But you know what I mean. So anyway, I didn't realize that this is in all white people. And I know white people will try to deny it, but it always starts to surface. And I've been thinking, how close in time that I'm talking overt acts of racism have were displayed. And I'm talking about times where, like, my dad told me that his mom remembers seeing white people string up a black kid and shoot his body until his like body dropped and detached from his head, like like they lynched him, and then like fired and rattled bullets in him. That's something my grandmother witnessed. Okay, my father said that people tried to attack him in the barracks because he was a black man in the military, right? He's fighting for his country, and this is the kind of things he gets, right? But but see, that wasn't very long ago when you think about it, because I'm the offspring of my parents. And when I think of like how lynchings were going on, I mean, lynchings are still going on, but there was a lot of discussion about the the sort of activity that was going on, especially like in the South and stuff like that. But still, even things that weren't even necessarily in the South were going on within other states too, because it was more like a unspoken type of law that was going on, which I will talk more about Jim Crow laws in another video. But whatever. The fact is that racism is still prevalent, and it's a driving force in this country. This is not me being an activist trying to stop it or to speak against the white man. It's a fucking reality. Okay, that doesn't mean, and people are going to say, well, you're talking bad about white people. I'm just stating the facts. Personally, I'm going to tell you what, I think all people are evil. All of them. My family is evil because if they did cared about me, they wouldn't have done what they did, right? So black people are evil. They roll over their own family members. They cheat. They lie. They backstab. They become jealous. Whatever. White people are evil too, but white people have more power, so they're going to enact more evil than anyone else. Okay, this is something I'm aware of, and I didn't become so much aware of it until I got older, right? So I shouldn't really be surprised at Nathaniel's behavior. Sometimes when it's like you get the taste of what it's like to be or have the privileges of a white person, okay? But it shows so much that goes on in this dysfunctional family dynamic, because number one, it shows how much my ex sister Tanya, didn't understand that just because you are married to a white man does not mean that he can't be a racist. And I remember having this conversation with somebody, and they kept looking at me like, I don't understand what you mean. What is it? What do you mean? Like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, he's married. He can't be a racist. He's married to her. That's not true. It's not true. He might find her conversations pleasant. He might even think that she's beautiful. He might enjoy like having sex with her or whatever. Okay, but when we're talking about how it is on a political level, how it is in his daily life, and as he has the ability to assert his authority, his shouldn't be his authority, but it's a warped authority. It's an illegal authority. It's a racist and highly unethical, cruel authority, but it's still a position that he has, an advantage that he has, and he will use that to abuse her if he has the opportunity to do that. So this is a very eye-opening thing for a lot of people who don't understand that, and it can be very shocking. Like, I didn't understand like how racism supersedes people's religious views. Like, I was confused at when I was dating my son's father. Like, I remember his mom would say a lot of shit, and that blew me away because it was like, okay, wait, you're supposed to be a Jehovah's Witness. Jehovah's Witnesses are supposed to be united and everything. Oh, but no. First of all, first and foremost, before she's anything else, okay, even though Jehovah God is supposed to be someone that she's supposed to respect, no, it always was very clear that she was a white person first, just by the things that she said. Okay. So, anyway, I got thrown into this program by my family members, my ex family members. Um, and from a kid who felt as though he was entitled to enact his evil upon his black aunt. Okay. I don't know what to say. At this point, I find everything that happened in the situation so disturbing. So this is why I'm up here talking about this and making a lot of videos, about this whole thing. As the whole thing unwinds, to me, it just becomes stranger and stranger and stranger and very sick. And I know I talk a lot about, demonic forces and stuff. And I really want people to understand that I'm not somebody who I know people are going to perceive me to be a fanatic. I'm not a fanatic, like a fanatic where I'm like dogmatic. Like I'm dogmatic to say, oh, the people who might be living next door, for example. I don't know these people. This is just an example. Okay. Maybe next door or maybe down the street or something. If they're living with their girlfriend and they're not married, that doesn't mean that I'm judging them or anything. I'm not one of those kind of people, or make up rules and say, well, the Bible says this. I am not a Bible thumper. I'm not even a Christian. Okay. I'm just a very spiritual person who feels vibrations and understands what goes on. And, I can sense things and I'm a very gifted person that way. Okay. But do I believe that my family is demonic? And I'm going to tell you, yes, I do. On a spiritual level, yes, I do. Anybody who does not respect your rights, your will, okay, and they keep going after you, especially the duration that they went and did this for. I mean, like, I keep thinking, okay, I left the Murray Family Farm place like 10 years ago, and this slowly unwinds. We have people who claim to be Christian. Christian, when you tell me you're Christian, it used to be, and it should be under that definition, it should be that you have standards that are higher than the average person, meaning your conduct, your moral character is not based on what's the normal in the world. Okay, you're supposed to be basing your life based on the model of Jesus Christ, right? That's what the whole name is, Christian. You're Christ-like. You're living that way. So when I see hypocrisy, okay, like bloodthirsty hypocrisy, it disturbs me. It disturbs me. I don't want to be a part of that family. And I understand, like, we have these employers like, oh, she doesn't have a bachelor's degree. Employment's going to be difficult for her. She's going to be struggling. Yeah, I understand that. I'll live in a fucking cardboard box if I have to. Okay. I'm disturbed as fuck as what happened in here. This whole incest thing, the whole, my nephew that's half Nazi, okay, or some other bullshit. All of it. This whole thing to me is so bizarre. And then you get people, you add the sexual aspect of it when you're talking about the issue of incest. And some people are thinking like, okay, well, you can just, that's not a big deal. You can just like, shove your shoulder. It's not that big of a deal. Just go ahead and forgive it, move on. No, this is the sort of stuff that people get restraining orders for people. This is the sort of stuff that makes, like, for example, teenage kids want to file in a courtyard to get emancipated so they can leave their homes so they can feel safe. Now, mind you, I will tell you the fact that, when you're kids, kids play in the bathtub, right? And they like do this like let me see your type stuff, when you're a kid. Okay, I think of course that stuff happened when we were really really little. Okay, but I didn't realize that my family grew up being like full blown like incestuous. I don't know if my ex sister was like fully intimate with my brother or what. I don't know that, but I do understand that that's what they are. Okay, and I'm basically saying I'm not comfortable with it. I don't want to see people talking for through these um, for them on their behalf. To me, I don't want that. You see, I'm not cool with that. I am somebody who is disturbed by it. It's a sexual advance that I'm not comfortable with, and I'm disturbed that this shit would be like a work issue. You know, it's like I feel in this situation that my life was exploited so badly, and I was like, just it's just shocking, you know that. But then again, when you think about the barbaric behavior of white people because of what they've done throughout centuries, you know what I mean? And this is not me bashing white people, but it's me understanding the pathology behind them and what they do and their history. I shouldn't be surprised. Okay, but I think back to Nathaniel. Yeah, I do. He think he's demonic, and I also think his sister Aquila is demonic. You know, if we're talking about this on a spiritual level, you know. But if people want to ask or think about or question, you know, this issue about biracial children, you know, I don't, I really, to me, if it was against God to be biracial, people would not be able to multiply. They would not be able to create. Okay. But do I believe that obviously it's going to cause tension on the earth and it's going to create problems among men, people, humans, whatever, because we do have this social order, okay? Whether we like it or not, it exists on this planet, okay? And you're going to have people be conflicted. I would say the lighter the skin color that a biracial person is, the more conflicted they're going to be, okay? And they will be willing to ditch their own mother under the bus, okay, if they have to. And you know, this is where we wonder, like, you know, the whole family unit thing can get very twisted in these sort of situations if you're not fully prepared and understand exactly what this whole social thing is, what this really does mean, you know. And like I said, you know, I'm not somebody who I have never been a political person. I'm not somebody who rallies. You know what I mean? I'm not somebody who. Um, I never even got into the Lives Matter movement. Although I know people would love to sit there and say that I did. I have my own issues with that movement. But do I think my life matters? Yes. Do I think that my life matters to anyone else? No. Does anyone's life mean something to anyone else? Not really. I don't think any lives matter when you really get down to it. Like I said, you know, you can look at the homeless, and that pretty much proves that point. But there's a certain cruelty that exists on this planet, and I said this before. You know, I know that my family was very cruel to me, and I know that there was extreme abuse in my family, and they are black. They're and not just black. They're literally from the same lineage as I am. Exactly. Okay, but that didn't stop them from abusing me. Right. So yeah, everyone on this earth is evil. Okay, the Koreans are evil, Mexicans are evil, Japanese people are evil. There's always people are evil. Okay, but I also understand the special kind of evil that exists within white people and the kind of things that they do. You know what I mean? And I shouldn't be surprised that this evil is in my nephew. But my nephew was way out of line. He had no right to do what he did. And I understand, you know, like, hey, I'm the one who's helping you guys get jobs and stuff like that. Wonder when I understand maybe you might have had more of a social power position than I have. That's great. Okay. But I still never asked you. Okay. And by disrespecting me and trying to make life decisions for me, you're out of line. You're out of line. You know, you don't try just you know what it is. I I guess I'm just talking because, like I said, all of this is very traumatic for me. It's very odd, you know, and finding it seems so barbaric and it seems so twisted and it seems there's a morbid feeling in it, and I don't think I'm wrong to have that feeling. You know, it's sick. It's very sick. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap this video up, and because it is getting late, and I've been talking, and I'm starting to feel that, you know, relaxation coming over me. I will say though, like since I have been off from work, I do kind of I am more flexible. I'm trying not to be too hard on myself. Like I said, I'm dealing with a lot of depression, lots of depression, and you know, there's times where I'm still not quite there, and I have to be real with myself. It's like this is not an easy thing for me to deal with. It's not. I'm very disturbed, and I'm like I said, I can't tell you how disturbed I am. That something like this would happen, especially in the context of work, and the fact that I feel like I'm a victim, almost feel like I'm a victim of rape, given the whole situation. I didn't appreciate the employers doing what they did, and I can't help but want to feel safe that somebody would never pull this kind of bullshit again, because I would not allow myself to be in a situation among my users. I will not do it. You know what I mean? And I don't know what happens to me, but I'm not going to let myself be in a situation where I'm going to be around people who are going to abuse me, who are going to sit here and belittle me, who belittled me already, who already don't appreciate me for who I am. And you're basically trying to force me into a situation where I can be more abused. I don't know what people, I mean, what the hell are you thinking? You know what I mean? Yeah, I'd rather die in the street than be in a situation where I'm among people. These people, I don't love these people. That shouldn't come as any surprise. I can't love somebody who would do what they just did. So anyway, gonna wrap up this video. Be back with another one later. Take care. Bye bye.